Hi, Tucker. I'm Todd. Hi, Todd. I'm Tucker.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, Craig, I've had just about enough of your shenanigans.
That is legitimate shenanigans. Boo.
Yeah, that if I had to define anything as textbook shenanigans, that would be it.
I wonder if he got body snatched or whatever. There's a proper term? I can't think of it right now. But he's got a low key inside him.
He's got a low key inside of him.
Yeah, he's got a low key. Oh, here, I've got someone for you. Do you know why the Norwegian Navy has barcodes on the sides of their ships?
Why do they?
So they can Scandinavian.
Oh, fuck off.
I read that one on Twitter today, and it made my day early.
That's pretty good, actually. I like that.
I asked my brother that one. I sent one to him, and he said something because they couldn't afford RFIDs, and he said something about like Ragnar's flotilla IDs. I have coffee and Disaronno today.
Is that right? I haven't been able to stomach Di Serono for many years.
Oh no, I always liked it in my Shirley Temples or Roy Rogers or whatever.
I used to drink it straight from the bottle out of high school.
Ew.
Now I can't stomach it at all. Even just a couple of tastes of it. I guess I have like PTSD or something.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, everybody has their PTSD alcohol that they went way too hard on when they didn't understand how alcohol worked.
That's pretty much exactly what it was.
I guess for me, because I would drink what's that shit called? With the stag on the cover.
Ah, shit. I wish I could remember. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that shit. Because
Tastes like black licorice.
yeah, because it was sort of a Jägermeister. That was sort of like a meme drink when I was coming out of high school. So I was drinking that straight out of the bottle. So yeah, I won't do Jaeger anymore. But I think also you're not supposed to do Jaeger. This is the shitty rambling about alcohol portion of the podcast.
Drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly, yeah. No, I do like telling the story about when my friends graduated the year after me. I was a year ahead of all my friends. And so I was the only one who was legal.
Nerd.
Fucking nerd. So when they graduated, we all went to Radium to stay in one of my friend's aunt's condos out there for a weekend. And I was the only one that was able to buy alcohol out there. And so I picked what the alcohol was. And for whatever reason, I picked a lot of tequila. And I don't know. I didn't know what a gin and tonic was. But okay, so here's how much of a literal idiot I was. I didn't know what a gin and tonic was. So what was it? Gin and tonic? Yeah, it was gin. So I bought a massive bottle of Blue Sapphire gin. Is that what it's called? I think Bombay Sapphire.
Yeah.
And then I didn't actually like tonic water. I thought it tasted gross, so I bought a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew. And when we got to the condo, there was no glass that I was satisfied with, so I grabbed a flower vase and I filled it half with gin and half with Mountain Dew. And sipped on that for the majority of the night. And my vomit was purple, my friend.
You drank a fucking vase of gin.
A vase of gin and dew.
I would slay mortal men.
It was sensationally bad. And I don't know if I ever did apologize to my friends for the hell that I put them through my behavior that night, but
Oh, well, once you start doing that, you have to apologize for every time you've done that. There's more than one for sure.
That's true. Well, I mean, yeah, because it was, regrettably, definitely more than once.
I kind of almost expected to hear a different story about tequila in a different kind of vessel.
Tequila in a different kind of vessel? What else? Other kind
Yeah,
of vessel does tequila come in?
well, there's gin in a vase.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know.
the
Maybe
boot boy.
maybe you drank vodka out of like a tall boot.
My mind went to a very disgusting cum drinking joke.
You are out of control.
Should we try to get our show going?
Yeah. Do you want to start with the script, or
Oh yeah,
do you want to play around with that after we warm up a little?
I think we did just warm up a little unintentionally. I would like to start with the script.
Well, I think a warm up is important, and we did it last time, and I think that was good. So I'm
We
ready. I'm ready when you are, if you want.
I am ready. I have two ideas for what the voice of Miranda is, and I think I'm willing to try them live, but there's also a possibility that I'm going to be way too self-conscious and I'll just end up doing them after and we'll do a straight read through. But I want to try the voices on you, and so I'll try one and surprise you and let me know what you think of it if it was meeting your imagination. Shall we?
I was actually I forgot, but I had intended earlier to suggest that we actually take a couple of cracks at her voice before we get started.
Okay.
You, unless you really want to just try and do it raw.
Okay. I mean, I will read the first line that you've written here in the voice that I pictured first.
All right, give me your best. How do you become king then?
Oh, is that what it was going to be?
Probably not, but that's.
I
I
was
think I didn't even get even close to what I was aiming for just now.
Well, how did he become king then?
Well, how do you become king then?
I was envisioning for her a Southern belle.
That's probably the best way.
Evening, boys. My name's Miranda. I'll be looking after you tonight. Need a refresh on your drinks?
Oh, I'm glad you're not in prison.
Right?
You talk real pretty.
Is that her voice? The other one was much sillier.
Lay the other one on me, but I do like the Southern Belle.
Evening, boys. My name's Miranda, and I'll be looking after you tonight. Need a refresh on your drinks?
Okay, I started laughing almost right away. That hurt to listen to. I think it's probably a little too far, but it's very
Yeah.
funny.
It's a
So
little
I
tough.
think you should tuck that away some. You know what? Fuck, save it instead
Good.
of keep that for later because I want to hear it again.
Okay.
All right. Does that mean you're volunteering for Miranda?
Yeah, I'm volunteering. Unless you had something prepared. Have you been practicing in front of the mirror?
I was, and I never got any better at it. And the only thing I practiced was trying to do Monty Python falsetto.
I think we should save the Python falsetto so that the gravity of that eldritch knee voice is more impactful when we use it.
Well, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that one.
That was I think that was my favorite episode so far. Last week's. It's funny. Each one is my favorite episode. My babies.
Yeah, I think my favorite so far still is one of the lost episodes in which Basil Fawlty was living in a zombie post-apocalypse and still running his hotel.
Yeah, you know what? Now that we've had enough distance, maybe tonight that's what we'll work on after the script. We'll work on that one because there was also one about an astrologer that I think was really funny.
Refresh my memory on the astrologer.
He was like an internet astrologer or like a TikTok astrologer or something like that, and he had made some sort of prediction that somehow miraculously had come true, even though, and then he was surprised that it came true because he didn't believe his own bullshit.
Interesting. I do dimly recall.
Yeah, we'll go back to it, but let us do tip your waitress.
All right. Let's see. There we go.
I will ask you, how was when I was doing voices? Was I too loud? Do I need to back off the mic a little bit?
I don't think so. I think you were fine.
Okay, good, cool.
Just taking a water and clearing my throat for take one.
Hoorah! Clap, snap, click.
Yeah, are you finished?
Tucker and Todd are seated in a dimly lit steakhouse with some sort of stage in the background. On stage is a D-list comedian of virtually no description. Bland jokes and blander laughter blend into the ambient din. The boys are out to celebrate the first episode of their new podcast. They have already received their drink orders and are awaiting their restaurant attendant. Tucker takes a sip of his beer with a contented sigh as though he's ever done a hard day's work.
Ah, we finally made it. We did it. We've released our first episode. You smell that, my friend? That's the smell of success.
I think that's the next table over. Looks like fish and chips.
That is what success smells like.
Beer battered haddock and grease.
Yes, absolutely.
Why are we having steak?
Shut up!
In the background, the scrub-tier comedian tells a muffled joke. The crowd offers an unenthusiastic pity laugh. It's at this point the restaurant attendant arrives. She's very obviously a humanoid cow person with little horns and spotted skin and even cloven hooves for Tucker's sake.
Evening, boys. My name is Miranda, and I'll be looking after you tonight. Need a refresh on your drinks?
I'm all set for the moment.
I'm ready for another.
All right, another beer coming up. So what can I get you to eat?
We'll each have the 10-ounce ribeye. Rare.
There's a brief beat after Miranda hears the order before she begins to huff and snort a bit indignantly. Her disapproval is palpable and clear. The mood noticeably darkens and the lights actually dim even further. Nearby tables go quiet. Eyes narrow, tension thickens.
I mean, really? Here I thought you two looked like nice fellas, but here you are ordering steaks like a couple of jerks.
Well, yes. This is a steakhouse.
Murder.
What?
Murder.
I don't get it.
Steak is murder.
Steak in particular?
Yes.
No problem with chicken then?
No problem with chicken.
I'll have the roasted half chicken with gravy, please.
No. We're out for steaks. Come on, success. Remember, the smell of success.
Fish and grease, I remember.
No, steak. We want steak.
No steak.
Yes, steak.
No steak.
Beef dip.
No beef.
Why would you object to beef but not to other meats? I don't think I've ever even heard of that.
It's personal.
Why would you work in a steakhouse?
We can't all follow our dreams. We can't all follow our dreams. Jobs don't just get milk out of udders, you know.
Or grow on trees, I guess. But you couldn't just find something you don't actually object to?
The only other place with an opening was a meat plant next to the cattle feedlot.
How do you keep this one?
They need the staff.
They need the staff.
That's got to be tough then. What is your dream?
I'm trying to become a singer.
And how's that working out?
We cut to a scene of Miranda singing on a nondescript sound stage, trying hard not to moo. She moves a lot, but it's actually not completely terrible probably. Then cut back to the steakhouse.
Medium well.
The boys glance at each other to suggest that they're aware of the joke. But before they can say anything, the crappy comedian finally speaks up loud enough to be very clearly perceived.
Tip your waitress.
The crowd responds with half-hearted applause, but Todd takes this imperative to heart and promptly shoves Miranda to the floor. She tumbles over with a proper thud and clinking glassware. At some point in the fall, her disguise is knocked akimbo and it is revealed to all that she has been a regular cow this whole time.
Well, that seems highly unlikely.
It isn't long before the people at nearby tables notice and begin to gasp and otherwise rabble. Obviously it's very strange that a cow has been waiting tables in this establishment, but it's even stranger that nobody noticed until now. Rabbling intensifies. A pair of additional wait staff arrive and quickly scoop the poor tipped cow back onto her feet. They brush her off and replace whatever article of clothing had fallen off, miraculously returning her to humanoid form. Voices from the crowd call out,
Why would you hire a cow then? Why would you hire a cow?
We need the staff.
They need the staff.
Wow, that was it. That was a fast one. But there's a lot of scenery and action going on in this one, I think, too.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of opportunities for, like, cartoon mayhem.
Yeah. Which is which became quickly the most laborious part, but also the most fun part to do last time. Trying to figure out how to squeeze a crash into like 3 frames.
I love that part.
It makes the whole thing still to this day makes me laugh. It surprises me with some of the gags.
I could have picked a better partner for making those.
Right. It is a true meeting of the I don't know, whatever the meeting is of. Tip your waitress.
That was about to go somewhere.
Okay, let me open a blank canvas that I will never add anything to. It just helps me focus on what we're talking about.
Oh, you got focusy things too?
Yeah, I open up a blank screen because if I have anything on the screen, even if I start typing notes, then I'm staring at the notes while I'm talking and I'm distracted by them. So it helps me to just have a blank document.
I look at pictures, but if I see any text, I become distracted. Pictures seem to occupy a different part of my brain space and have no problem.
Yeah, that's true. Opens up porn.
Only now and then. And I want you to know that all the funniest stuff I ever came up with was highly sexually charged.
What there's a term for that. Sublimation. You're sublimating your sexual energies into positive, life-affirming joke energy.
Which is probably, if that was the kind of thing I actually did, then I would be doing way more with my sexual energy than most people do with theirs. I've seen what they do on the internet.
Not that there's anything wrong with what they do. We accept all people, except some of them have to stay outside the doors.
Yeah, some of them can look in, but they can't come in.
Okay, shall we do Basil Fawlty Redux?
Yeah, the Fultoning, but where do we begin with Basil Fawlty? Because I have no idea how we got to where we were with him.
Well, I would question, is it important how the world became zombified?
Probably not. It probably just happened one day, and since Basil's a bit of a stubborn sort, he just disregarded it entirely and continued operating as normal.
Oh, has he not caught on? He's so resentful against all of his customers. He thinks that all of the zombies roaming around Faulty Towers are customers, but they're actually zombies, and it's a farce as he tries to deal with their needs and tries to understand them as they
Or does he actually just think that they're his least favorite brand of foreigners? Because let's face it, Basil Fawlty is not a good man.
I do like that. Somebody comes in and he thinks they're trying to check in, but they're actually like, blah, blah, blah. And he makes like an under his breath comment about fucking foreigners.
Yeah, like he totally would. He would, me no speako dago. Thank you, Blackadder.
Pico. That's actually would be very funny if Basil Fawlty met, I'm not going to remember his name, from Inglourious Bastards, Brad Pitt's character, and he tells him, me no speako. He's sitting there doing the Arrivederci, and he says, me no speako.
Arrivederci. No speako dago.
Okay, that is a scene that occurs.
Just want everybody to know that all I did was repeat the awful thing that Sir Edmund Blackadder said. Lord Edmund Blackadder. I didn't even address him correctly.
Do Italians actually care about ancient Italian slurs?
I have no idea. I assume that they have other things that occupy their interests.
I would assume that for all people. Actually, yeah, whatever. I was about to take us down a political tangent, but I don't feel like doing it. So let's stay on target.
Yeah, back to Basil Fawlty's check-in desk.
So I feel like we had discussed that all of the staff are zombified too, right? He's the only one left. So like, Sybil is a zombie.
I'm pretty sure she did become a zombie, and he totally, either she was a zombie or she bled on the carpets or something, and he killed her for it. I can't remember why, but I just remember that Basil definitely bodied her before the end of the sketch.
Does it turn? So he never catches on to the zombies.
Well, I remember him becoming like, he wound up going almost full road warrior. Like he wound up being like a super survivor, but also running his hotel. Like he had a fire axe strapped to his back and shit.
Right. So now I'm wondering if he becomes a super survivor. So is it sort of like, so, just to use, I know it's in everything, but my example is I Am Legend. There's the compound that they're trying to make their way to. Does the Faulty Towers become a compound where he's trying to like beckon people on the radio to come to his refuge? Or is he out on the road going from hotel to hotel killing off groups of zombies?
Oh no, he definitely has to stay focused on his hotel. He has to stay at Faulty Towers, or else it's not a Faulty Towers story. So yeah, he's probably getting people to come to his hotel. And in fact, he might not quite realize that it is the apocalypse. He might think that it's just like, I don't know, these new immigration laws. Because
So
Basil Fawlty is a bad man.
does it get to the point where he's trying to beckon all these people? So survivors do come, and he's like, finally, I have guests. And then, as he's tending to their needs, he realizes how needy they are, and then he comes to resent them more, and he kicks them out and has the zombies back in. Like it makes a statement about I preferred you all when you were zombies.
I mean, the zombies are way less needy.
Right, so he'd rather have the zombies. It's hell at first, but then he finds to come he actually prefers zombies to guests.
I think that's almost like a sick kind of a happy ending, where he realizes that he prefers the company of zombies, and that's just how the story ends.
Well, I mean, it could be a nod to the end of Shaun of the Dead, where he's got all the zombies in the hotel, but they're like chained up.
And he's definitely got his hotel staff as zombies too.
Yeah, I figured they would definitely have to be. I was trying to think of a scene that would involve, because I figured he's trying to fight off all the zombies. He ends up killing Sybil. I was thinking maybe he and Manuel kill Sybil together, because Manuel is the only zombie that he can trust, because he needs Manuel to do things, because he won't actually do anything because he's Basil.
Basil sure is useless, and poor Manuel.
Do we have the chef? Is he making a paella?
Yes, only whatever a zombie would do to make it.
Oh, well, I guess paella looks am I thinking, or maybe I'm thinking of ratatouille, but paella I think looks sort of like there could be a guts joke with chef.
When you
How
think
does
he just grabs a bowl of guts?
Yeah, he says, I'll make it to the, I don't know, because if he would be zombified, he doesn't have the voice anymore.
No, now
Maybe
he
he
just.
is. Yeah, he's just in the kitchen and he's shuffling around a brain and some intestines. He's like chopping them up, throwing them in a bowl, tossing them around. Funny stuff.
Occasionally eating some.
Oh, he's making his web show, his cooking show.
Oh, so he's doing a little bit of the internet on the side.
I'm thinking maybe he's like, that could be a very quick gag where if we do have a scene where he's in the kitchen and he's like cooking around in there, and then we have one shot where he looks the camera and you can see like the comments rolling by and the likes bubbling up or whatever.
Yeah, and
Does that take us out of the bit?
no, I think it's an okay aside so long as it's brief. But I do think a couple of the comments that go up should actually just be like zombie text, just intermixed with like a couple of actual people.
I thought I was gonna say in it.
He's still British.
Bruv.
Cunt.
Yeah.
All right, so Chef has his own little internet cooking show for zombies and people,
What's Polly
especially
doing?
British zombies. What is Polly doing?
Is she making out with a zombie? Oh, is she not zombified and then she makes out with a zombie and that's how she gets zombied? There's a zombie in a leather jacket.
Is that what we want to happen to Polly?
I don't know. I'm almost feeling like Polly should be the one that actually wins in the end.
Yeah, I actually, now that I think about it, if anything, no, you know what? Polly should be rescued, and Basil should be left to his fate at this zombified hotel hell.
Oh, okay. So Basil has all of his zombies, and we have our. Is she rescued as the final scene?
She, there's got to be some kind of conflict between them. Like she wants to leave, and Basil wants to stay,
Oh,
and
is
then
it a
and then she gets out of there.
is it a conflict or is it a play on it's very quick. There's like a helicopter comes and grabs Polly, and Basil's screaming, "Polly, where are you going?" or whatever, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I have to go."
Yeah, all right.
I really would love to stay.
Or does she play her Polly bit and she does stay for a while and tries to help keep everything in shape, but realizes at a certain point that it's just a lost cause and the helicopter shows up. I mean, well, first of all, is Stan flying the helicopter?
Oh, right. How are we gonna get, the regular cast involved in this one?
I mean, we don't always have to be getting the regular cast involved. I don't want the show to think that it always has to be doing that, but that
No,
would
and I wouldn't mind throwing the occasional curveball in which they don't even appear or get mentioned.
right. I feel like that. Yeah, there should be ones that are total one-offs.
That said, we've already demonstrated that Stan knows how to fly a helicopter.
And this seems like exactly the type of situation that he'd want to be completely embroiled in, anyways.
Stan is a worldly man, and he had all kinds of strange business before he wound up with us.
Including saving Polly from a Faulty Towers apocalypse.
Exactly. And I don't know about the anachronism there because somehow this is before Stan met us, but at the same time, Chef can run a show on the internet, which is pretty modern phenomenon. But I say we go with it.
We have a time machine. There's time TV.
Yeah, you know what? On the Tucker and Todd show, time is not a fixed construct. We're gonna whatever we want from whenever we want.
Okay, so Polly hangs around for a bit to dutifully assist with the saving of Faulty Towers. She escapes on a helicopter with Stan. Basil becomes even more hardened and initially fights all the zombies off, and then reinforces Faulty Towers to turn it into a bastion sanctuary, and attempts to beckon survivors. Survivors start coming, but they are immensely frustrated and exasperated to Basil, and he kicks them all out, deciding that he actually prefers the company of zombies, and he lives happily ever after with his zombie guests chained to the tables and chairs.
Yeah, especially because now that all of his staff, with the exception of Polly, who's just absent, are zombies, technically he has to do so much more of this job himself. So there's a perfect opportunity for like a shitty little montage of him having to do these menial tasks that he used to assign to everybody else.
And then actually it is sort of the scene at the end. He's sitting there with his legs crossed reading a newspaper. He's enjoying the music on the radio. The classics. And you hear "Rah!" and he looks over and there's a chained up zombie just happily munching on a spoon. There's nothing on the spoon. It's just munching on the spoon. And he says, "Yes, you love your supper, don't you?" Or whatever. I'm not doing the voice right now. I'll work on it later. I can
We have to load that one in the chamber first.
Yeah, that has to be tip of the tongue, the teeth, and the lips. Red leather, yellow leather.
All right, so that's a pretty good. If anything, that's a better one than the original.
I think probably. We know what we're doing with how we stretch these out now.
Okay, so Polly leaves before he builds the hotel into a bastion and gets sick of the living. So that's probably very important because if she was there to help him, he would have had much more patience for all of that.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's essential to the continuity of the sketch that she leaves before he builds that place up into a refuge. Which means that in the aftermath of her leaving, he does his stupid Basil like miniature tantrum where he grumbles and mumbles to himself as he's like banging boards onto a wall with a hammer, doing his Basil faulty thing. And I'll show her I can build this place up better than she ever could, blah blah blah. Although, unlike most of the time when he does that, he actually kind of vaguely succeeds.
Maybe that can stretch across two scenes because I was imagining it as she disappears and her leaving. Well, not disappears. He watches her leave, and her leaving is what fills him with that rage. And he does the "oh, so grumbling son of a bitch" monologue, while that gives him the fire to kill off all of the zombies. So he goes on a zombie killing spree. Maybe like sort of like Mr. Magooing his way through accidentally just wiping things out, but either way, he's killing zombies off, and then that speech carries over into him putting the boards on the house. Here's the scene of him or the hotel.
Yeah, yeah. Like it can all be one continuous scene, like because it's just a series of tasks that he has to do. The first one is he has to go room by room and clear the hotel. He has to kill the zombies, and then the next scene is like him basically coming out with a wagon with bodies on it, shoving them out the door and down the front steps to get them out of there. And then he has to start, hammering boards on windows and reinforcing doors, and he can be grumbling and mumbling to himself continuously the entire time.
I have two ideas for how we would film that, and I like how I'm always directing on the go before we even thought of it. But anyways, so there's a scene where it tracks left to right. He starts in one room, and the camera just follows him moving left to right across the frame. He's moving through a room, clearing out zombies. He's moving through a room, the sound effects of sawing and hammering. He's moving through a room, these sound effects of whatever. And so it's one camera shot moving left to right as he changes, or it's one single exterior shot and it's a shadow play. So there's a cutout of Faulty Towers and you can see through the windows, and it's backlit so that the windows is all white, and then we see the silhouette of Basil moving from room to room with silhouettes of zombies, and he's fighting them off with fighting sound effects, and then moving room to room with sawing and hammering sound effects.
I actually can't decide because I like both of those a lot. I like the simplicity of the first one because it's just the camera panning. It could even just be like a hallway with a couple of rooms. That's all that's like in the frame, and then Basil
It's not
goes
even the
from
camera
place to
panning.
place.
It's the background panning. Never mind. The background scrolls left to right, and the camera stays still. It's like SpongeBob walking on the sidewalk loop.
Yeah, yeah. And I enjoyed the simplicity of that because then it's almost entirely left up to the imagination as to what exactly he's doing, but the sound effects do like pretty much all the heavy lifting. But the shadow play is an opportunity for including a bunch of visual gags, including a zombie doing shadow puppets.
Zombie doing shadow puppets. A zombie with big floppy boobs.
Just like all kinds of silly stuff that you could get away with showing in silhouette, Austin Powers style.
That's funny. Well, I'll think on it. I'm a little bit obsessed with that idea now, but maybe that's a special.
I think I am partial to the shadow play idea, just because it lets us include the audio gags as well as a couple of like visual gags, since it's all in silhouette, that we would never be able to do ordinarily.
And I also just like the idea of exploring different filming and different aesthetics.
Speaking of different aesthetics, when do we get to do film noir?
Oh, let's do that next.
I don't know if that was enough to be a premise, though. Film noir is just a style.
Well, film noir has a lot of tropes, though, and I feel like if we could pick like 2 or 3 really super obvious tropes and then lampoon those, and that would get us running off pretty good.
All right, here's one of my favorites: the detective's office.
The gumshoe.
The gumshoe.
She walked in, she was all sticks and stems.
Exactly, that guy. He's had a tough day of 0 cases. It's just 6 seconds before closing when he's about to get ready to go home. He's pouring himself a tumbler of whiskey right at his desk. It's raining outside. It's downtown. Who gives a shit where?
So does he say she walked in and she was stems up to here, and we see she's a plant lady?
I mean, technically that visual gag has been done, but I think we can do it better. We can do it better.
So is our main character the detective? Is our main character the woman? Are we doing a woman coming into the gumshoe's office? A damsel in distress?
Do you wanna subvert it and have the detective be the lady?
I'm thinking I do actually. Does she have the same characteristics of a male detective in the same position?
Yes, she definitely does.
But like unflinchingly, there's no irony to it.
None at all, and she still calls women dames.
So does a man come into the office, or is it a damsel comes to visit her? A female damsel comes to the female detective, and the female detective isn't attracted to her because that's always the story. The female detective is annoyed by her because she's such a bitch.
Oh yeah. If anything, that's a good way to subvert the trope because a lot of the time, this femme fatale will show up and will kind of cajole the detective into doing what she wants just because she's pretty and she bats her lashes at him or something. And of course, that doesn't phase our lady detective at all. She doesn't care for it.
And so the damsel is actually like always put out and annoyed because she expects a certain kind of behavior and never gets it.
It was at this point Tucker sent Todd a relevant webcomic on their Discord server.
Stinking of trouble. Oh, good lord. I see, I understand.
Do you think we could do better than that?
I don't know if I could ever do better than any gag that has to do with spaghetti legs. Although I remember in the 10th grade, one of the you know how do you have any jokes that you made in high school that you can remember the day that you made the joke and you still laugh about it?
I cannot.
My friend James and I were talking about we were trying to hide. We were trying to hide from, I think, one of the school that we were in was a self-directed school, so there was no classrooms. But there was like teachers' aides. They were all called teachers' aides or teacher assistants or something like that, because they just kind of like roamed the halls, and if you needed them, then you can ask for help. So that we had pissed one off and we were hiding from her, and we were saying how funny would it be if we we could hang ourselves in the locker and just curl our legs up like the fucking witch in Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Like if you could just like yank a little string and your legs rolled up like a blinds. And
Yeah.
that we ended up getting caught because we were crying laughing at how funny that would be. We ended up getting caught. We got in trouble.
You won't get away with this. It's too funny.
Those legs, yeah, I don't know if I could do anything funnier than that.
Well, that's okay because we've already kind of broken away from it a little bit because we've got our unflappable lady detective who doesn't really care about any of those traits.
Does she? So is our lady
Oh,
detective?
it needs
Does
to be
she just?
it needs to be straight woman.
Oh, okay. So the straight woman is the detective.
Yes, straight woman is
I would-
playing our detective.
That makes sense to me because I was kind of thinking. I don't know if this is actually a love story. It seems sort of like it because we're starting to use tropes that we're subverting it into a new trope. Because she's annoyed, they start off with friction because they're split personalities, but along the way of their adventure, they're going to end up having a little love interest. But I don't know if I actually want to do that. But straight
Although
woman,
I always do like those kinds of stories because uh, what's more satisfying than going from 0 to 100? Going from a negative value to 100.
yeah,
It's
because
it's way more interesting if they clash and there's friction at first and they have to kind of come around.
I'm loving the idea of straight woman as the gruff detective. So and because she is so she doesn't like her personality, but she does sexualize women, and so she does describe her the way the damsels get described in noir.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially because we've kind of established that straight woman isn't straight.
Right.
And since
We
she
don't know
is
exactly what she is.
no, that's up to her, not us. Since she is a kind of gruff detective, she definitely has a kind of vaguely chauvinistic mentality, but it's manifest in a woman, so it's funny now.
Funny. And the well, is our damsel Miranda?
Interesting.
She has a
And
Southern
then
Belle voice.
she does, and that would give us some very interesting opportunities where we describe Miranda off screen, and like we go, like it starts out with stereotypical conventional female beauty and stuff, and then we can get into the weird stuff like her cloven hooves, and then it just pans to Miranda, and we're like, what the fuck?
I like that. That's great. And so is Miranda looking for did somebody kidnap her child or did her child go missing?
That's a little bit dark.
I don't have enough noir knowledge where I'm now basing everything off of pushing daisies.
Somebody is missing. Maybe it's not her kid. Maybe it's just her. Could be a friend, could be a boyfriend, could be an employer, could be a sibling. Maybe it's her brother. You know what? It's always the brother. Brother's missing.
Okay, is it her twin brother?
Not identical, right? Oh, if they are
Mm.
identical, then you can just use Miranda twice. Just dress her up a little differently.
Yeah, because so now I'm going off of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This is going to be my reference point.
Nice.
The sibling goes missing, right?
As they do.
Because they're from a small town. They both had dreams. She had dreams of stardom, and the other sibling had dreams of being something. We'll come up with it. Oh, so maybe the sibling ran away from home to the big city, and now that's why Miranda is here looking for the sibling.
Well, the sibling has to be like proper missing for them to go, for Miranda to go trying to hire a private eye. And in
Oh, here
fact,
we go.
anytime anybody calls straight woman a private dick, she's going to correct them right away.
I've got it figured out.
Lay it on me.
She says, I'm looking for my sister. She was last seen tied up with some bad people because she's in the rodeo.
Oh, brutal.
She's been getting into wrangling. Or maybe she was kidnapped by the rodeo.
We're assuming that either she, one or the other is what we're going to
She
make
was
as an
dating a
assumption.
guy who works for the rodeo.
Yeah, like she was lured into this dirty lifestyle.
She, Papa never approved of Hank. She was hanging around that man too much, and we all knew that he was involved in the rodeo. We all knew that it would lead to no good.
So how quickly are we going to reveal that in fact Miranda's sister is not an entertainer, but is in fact just the cow getting wrangled?
I'm thinking not right away because I'm thinking, do they
And
go
and
through
of
all?
course, the sister thinks that that position is an entertainer position. She is a professional.
Well, because Miranda is obsessed with like stardom, and she's a little bit jealous of the sister because the sister is seen, like thousands of people have seen her. She knows that she's been like on TV and people show up to stadiums to see her. She's always in the spotlight, or at least the rodeo people are.
She's in the spotlight by association almost.
I'm trying to think. Is she jealous, or does she know nothing about? Is she like naive?
She's probably jealous because she's naive. She doesn't actually realize that it's not that great. But it's at the same time it's also taboo, so she's got these kind of conflicting feelings of being jealous but also disapproving.
So is Miranda is in like humanoid form the entire time, and then when we finally discover the sister is full cow form, and maybe straight woman has been pouring her heart and soul into this investigation, and they get there and is like, you failed to tell me that your sister is a cow.
Yeah, pretty much. That was exactly why I was asking whether we were going to reveal right away that this sister's a cow and
Yeah,
that she's getting
I think
wrangled.
it's not right away.
Well, naturally, can't do that bit because we definitely need straight women to, because you cannot get your grizzled, bitter detective without lots of heartbreak. And I'm sorry, straight woman, we're gonna break your heart again
How is straight woman's heart broken here?
because Miranda isn't everything she thought she was.
Oh, so does straight woman not realize that she's a cow in the beginning?
No, which is going to make the description of having horns and cloven hooves all the weirder.
Right, because nobody knows that. Because nobody knows that Miranda is ever a cow when she's in waitress form.
In general humanoid form, yeah, nobody knows. It's a
And she's not going to
disguise.
be a waitress, and she's going to have a nice red dress or whatever.
Well, yeah, she's off the clock, but she will be wearing, human clothes, and they conceal her fine.
Yeah.
So yes, when it's revealed that Miranda is a cow, and she's like, "I thought you knew," and then it's just like, and then it's a whole thing. straight woman is not vegetarian. Sorry, Miranda.
So is there? Oh, that's interesting. Wait 1 second. Oh, she is vegetarian. That's funny. Is there a suggestion like that's so that could be a sexual thing so good if there was some sort of suggestion and she says sorry I don't eat meat and she's like regretful, she's like sorry dame I don't eat meat.
Interesting. Because that would be one of those points that would actually bring them together. Some like that could be their like little unifying gem that begins the process through which they come around to each other. When Miranda discovers that straight woman is a vegetarian.
Intriguing. Okay, so that is the order of operations then. Miranda was sorry, detective was somewhat attracted to Miranda ever in the
She
beginning.
found Miranda physically attractive, but she didn't
Personal.
find Miranda's personality to be engaging, at least not immediately. It was off-putting.
So and then Miranda never has any interest in straight women until she says I'm a vegetarian, and she's like, wait, how do you feel about blah blah blah? And then they start bonding over that.
Well, it's probably a lot of mutual feelings about each finding the other, conventionally attractive, but also finding the way that they behave and speak to be off-putting. They probably have the same sentiment about each other. But I think since we're going to go with Miranda kind of being like overtly flirtatious right away to try to get the case picked up and to try to get a level of enthusiasm for the case being solved, and straight woman does not like that.
Or so do we use a mutual interest to begin the turnaround of the relationship, or do we use the classic trope of a conflict starts? Miranda says something like, "Why do you always have to say something, something, something?" And straight woman says, "Well, I wouldn't have to say something, something, something if you were just something, something, something." And that conversation brings out some sort of realization that they're passionate about each other.
Is that before or after the vegetarian reveal?
Maybe okay, so the vegetarian comment happens and then that makes the moment have gravity, so that brings us in. Okay, now we're having a moment, it becomes serious for a second, and we come away from whatever the storyline is and we're focusing on the energy between them. And I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat meat, and she goes, you don't, like, she kind of has that second, you don't. And then that tender moment is broken by a sarcastic remark, and that causes, I don't know, maybe I'm mixing too many things together now.
I don't know if you are, but I definitely like that there's like a brief glimmer of commonality that immediately gets fucking steamrolled by a reignition of whatever the argument was. Either that or like replaced with a brand new one.
It's replaced with a new conflict, but that conflict somehow demonstrates that they've had a moment that bonded them more.
So
I know it's doable. This exists in
it
film.
becomes more of a, oh yeah, well you do this. Like the argument becomes more and more like they kind of reveal how much attention they pay to each other and how closely they watch and observe and care about what the other does in a way, which is basically like channeling positive levels of attention in a negative way.
Okay, so yeah, detective says I don't eat meat. They have a glimmer moment. You don't, and then detective is immediately on the defensive, mad because, like, well, if you'd paid any fucking attention to either this thing that I've done or this thing that I've said, then you would have known.
Yikes.
And
That's a challenge, to start demonstrating all the attention you pay.
does, like, so because I know, so we never got to use the vegan tattoo in Tip Your Waitress. Do we finally get to have? She has a vegan tattoo, and straight woman has a vegan tattoo as well. Why wouldn't she? Straight woman is also straight edge.
Yeah. Do straight edge people get tattoos?
Wait, you just blew my mind. Surely they do. Yes, they do.
Okay, so they'll modify themselves, but they won't pollute themselves? Fuck off.
Reddit. Do straight edge people get tattoos? I need to research this. Different things to different people, but almost everyone is okay with tattoos. Doesn't necessarily mean they have one. People disagree about caffeine and prescription drugs, blah, blah. A lot of people saying I support it. I don't know. In my mind, I think of that, those knuckle tats for straight edge hardcore. So yeah, the 3 X's. Whatever. This is not
All
important.
right. They have matching tattoos.
I get defensive about punk culture, man.
Well, I get dismissive about all culture, man.
Let me put an end to this drivel and remind everyone that we've already seen Straight Detective pulling out a bottle of brown liquor and will refer to it at least once more in the future.
So yeah, Straight Detective is annoyed that Miranda never noticed her straight edge vegan tattoo because they have similar straight edge vegan tattoos. And so that's why, well, if you had ever paid any attention to me, and then, well, if you would ever open up, I don't know. Are we making a comedy sketch still?
Yeah, we're not. This isn't even comedy anymore. Now this is just like
genre play.
this is drama that has drifted away from romantic comedy. But I mean, it's still funny because Miranda's a fucking cow. This would be a lot of visual gags because Miranda, like the scene where Miranda's tattoo is revealed, probably also includes her having a tail.
Do we somehow work in Bart Simpson saying "Don't have a cow, man"? Or is there a cow who's pregnant? Oh my god! Is there an abortion clinic called "Don't Have a Cow"?
Wow, that's ugly and hilarious. In fact, it's so ugly it's hilarious.
Okay, so maybe it's not an
Uh,
abortion clinic, but it's like a Planned Parenthood organization called "Don't Have a Cow."
these are the same picture.
Yeah, basically. And there's Christians that sit outside of the "Don't Have a Cow" center with their "Have a Cow" signs.
Have a cow.
Okay, so that's unrelated. But I think we might have to do that someday, now that we're creating this miniature cow verse.
Well, it's a world in which there is at least one cow that manages to live a life disguised as a human. I don't know if her sister will ever succeed in doing that. She might just always be a cow. But Miranda's figured it out.
Absolutely. Okay, and so we get to this point where we have found the sister. Did they find the sister, or they just found the rodeo?
They find the rodeo and they start tracking her down. Is she there, or is there some mysterious circumstance through which she's not there? Did she run off with what's his nuts?
I'm not sure how. I was going to say I'm not sure how long this is, but I should not think about that at all. We just let the plot take the plot where it goes.
Unless you want to kill it, but let's.
I don't. I want to know what.
Let's
I'm
have a
curious
cow.
I'm curious about what happens. And so they track down. They get some sort of clue. There has to be a clue. Do you have a clue? I have the biggest clue right now.
Jesus. Oh, I'm getting such a clue.
I don't know what the clue is right now. They get a clue that tips them off that they need to go to. Do we use my joke? Is this joke worth it? She's all tied up in the rodeo. She got all.
I mean, yeah, I don't see why not. She's getting wrangled. She is literally tied up.
Got tied up with a bad lot.
Tied up or tied down?
Interesting. I think there should be both, and there should be some sort of confusion, and this should be part of the script of like, well, see, she got tied up with a bad lot. Well, what kind of bad lot? Well, she was trying to get tied down, you see.
Yeah, pick one. Make it. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean?
And at some point, somebody says something about hands being tied. Sorry, what was that about hooves? Hands. Sorry, her hands were tied.
I hear you, Miranda. I hope you're happy that you've signed yourself up to a lifetime of doing her voice.
Yeah, it doesn't take any effort.
No, I suppose not. All right, so we've got the clues and we find her, and of course we've got to do that sort of gag where Miranda says, "There she is," and Straight Woman's like, "What do you mean? Where? Behind the cow?"
Where? Yeah, that cow is in the way.
Yeah, where is she? Is she behind that cow over there? And then that's when we drop the anvil. That's the moment of realization, where Miranda says, "No, she is the cow. Your sister's a cow."
Does she say that she is the cow, or she says, "What are you talking about? That's my sister." And she goes, "The cow? No, that's my sister."
Well, I mean, she wouldn't deny that her sister's a cow. What do you mean, the cow? Yes, the cow.
I wasn't sure if she was delusional and refuses to accept that they are cows.
If she was delusional, if she was totally delusional, she wouldn't try to disguise herself.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. What do you mean the cow? Of course it's the cow.
And thus begins their next fight, where what do you mean your sister's a cow? What do you mean, what do I mean? I'm a cow.
Are there many cows? Is this a scene where it's just the sister, or are they in some sort of like...
Oh yeah, there should probably be several cows because I don't know, maybe they're grazing, just like hanging out, doing cow stuff. And naturally, Miranda recognizes her sister, and everybody else just sees some cows.
Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of dialogue. So they are in some sort of like stable sort of environment where there's a whole bunch of cows in like their little like paddocks or lots or whatever. And she says, "Okay, so do you see your sister? Yeah, right over there. Where? In that paddock next to the lamppost. You mean feeding the cow? What? No, my sister.
I don't see her. Where is she? She's right there.
She has the same spots as me.
I like that, the reference to the spots.
Yeah, right there. We have the same spots.
Like pointing out the non-human characteristics once again, despite the fact that straight woman seems to be willfully oblivious to them.
Is there an udder reference? She says maybe there's a man feeding the cow. She says, "My sister right there." You mean feeding the cow? No. Oh no, never mind. That doesn't work. No, no. I said sister. Do you see udders? Udders. But no, I think the spot thing. The
Sister
spots.
obviously has udders.
And that is how the spots, and that's what. So maybe do we do the equations and puzzles floating in the air around the detective's head?
Oh, you mean she looks visually confused, and so it manifests in like thought bubbles of question marks.
I was thinking specifically like the meme filter where there's like white chalk outline ghosts of equations floating around the head.
Oh, you mean maths?
Yeah, that. Yes, that, as she's figuring it out.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I love doing that joke. Just just all kinds of complex equations going into figuring out that Miranda is a cow.
I'll do it real fucking cute because it would be easy to drop that in as a video filter, but I'm gonna make paper cutouts of the equations, and those will float around on sticks.
That would be so cute.
Okay, so we have revealed that she's a cow, and so does the detective at that point then sort of want to give up because she's like, "What? I put all this effort. We've been hunting down a cow. Oh, you said she's no. She is there or she's not there. Does the case have to be stretched out a little bit more in order for her to actually be irritated that she's wasted time on it?
No, she's not mad about wasting time on the case. She's mad about wasting time on Miranda, who turns out not to be a human.
Oh, so she initially is irritated. She realizes, she realizes Miranda's a cow, and then is she no longer attracted, or does she like feel betrayed that she was tricked?
She feels like she was tricked, and she also is no longer attracted. And also, as soon as she realizes it, then she starts to see it. So she doesn't really clue in until after it gets pointed out, and then after that, she can't unsee it.
And then Miranda is insulted that she never noticed. Oh no, I said that the detective was insulted that she never noticed this. So she
Yeah,
notices.
it wouldn't be fair for Miranda to sass straight women about not realizing she was a cow, because Miranda works as hard as she reasonably can to disguise that fact. So even someone who's paying attention to her, she doesn't want to discover that she's a cow.
Oh, so is that then Miranda is excited and a little bit bashful and kind of like turned on because the detective is a detective, literally a detective, and never noticed her disguise. And she's like,
Really? Meaning you never knew I was a cow?
Oh yeah, I like that turnaround where in fact Miranda is not even Miranda like skips right over giving a shit about no longer having this woman be interested in her, and now she's ready to pat herself on the back for the quality of her disguise. I fooled the detective. I finally made it.
So she's patting herself on the back, and then does her doing that is that what brings us? So that's the little moment of tenderness, and then the detective brings it back. Like, well, how was I ever supposed to something? She's annoyed that she is so pleased with herself.
I think at this point, straight women should be getting ready to leave because, first of all, the case is solved. Her interest in Miranda is now non-existent. So there's basically no reason for her to stay.
Okay, interesting. So she leaves. Does she just abandon her, and we leave? So we, as the audience, leave with the detective and go back to her office with her while she broods, and then
Yes, she has to go and pour herself that tumbler of whiskey that she was about to pour just as Miranda came into her office. So she basically just goes right back to where she was, miserable.
oh, I see where we're going. We're at the
We're
office now,
bookending it. We're
and
bookending.
but wait, are we bookending it here, or does Miranda's sister come crashing through the door saying something happened to Miranda?
Oh, I like that. That's so much better. Just a cow, an actual cow comes through. Something's happened to Miranda,
Oh
and then
no!
that's
Do we have a Lassie
that's
moment where
no
she's
that.
going moo moo moo, and then the detective's going, "What girl? What happened? She fell down the well. Moo 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 moo. What? She's in trouble."
Do you think straight detective is actually interested in trying to engage a cow to that level?
You're right. You're right. She would not do that. No.
At this point, she's had it up to here. She's about ready to start eating steak again.
That's sort of funny. Okay, so because she is the straight woman, she can't actually understand the cow.
No, then the cow puts on a hat and then is suddenly disguised enough to speak English.
Does he put on a hat and we use that joke, or does he do charades?
I like charades, but that makes it complicated.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I don't want to do all that art.
Yeah, that's a lot of animation for 10 seconds. But I do think that the cow should burst in, and frankly, the cow should just speak English. Wait, something's happened to Miranda, and then cut to credits. Like it's sequel bait, but that is how we drop that scene.
Oh, do we cut to credits from just saying that, or does the the door slamming open startles the detective and she drops her whiskey and is pissed off about that, and that's the end? I'll never get to
I
drink
think
my whiskey.
I think the whiskey probably hit the floor somewhere at the same time as the door came to a stop, and both of those probably occurred just before Miranda's sister started speaking. So even with the whiskey glass falling down and breaking, the last thing in the scene is probably the cow speaking.
Oh, that's okay. So we do. Good idea. It's a split screen. On the left side, the door opens with a bang, and on the right side, we see a shot of the floor and the glass descend slowly and hit the floor at the same time as the doors crash open.
At the same time as the door hits the door stop. So like the glass drops at the initial door open, and then once the door hits the door stop, the glass hits the ground. And then immediately following both of those, Miranda's sister makes her loud uh, declaration that something's happened to Miranda.
And then credits.
And then credits, because we all know how that sequel goes. Like, blah, 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 gotta go save Miranda. And then in the process of saving Miranda, realize that being a cow isn't the most important thing, and being human isn't all that great either. And they both, come around to each other all over again, because doing it once wasn't enough. We have to do it twice, because sequel bait. And then no, something else has to happen, and then it screws them up again, and then we can do a sequel to the sequel.
The sequel is actually a Saw movie, and somebody made Jigsaw makes Miranda eat the straight woman.
Spooky has to describe her as grain fed.
Or maybe Miranda has to eat like a cut of her own thigh or something like that.
Okay, Hannibal.
I was trying to figure out how to work a Hannibal in there. Maybe they meet Hannibal.
That would be an opportunity for Miranda to save Straight Woman because Hannibal isn't interested in eating the cow.
Oh, no. That's actually it. This is a totally different thing. Hannibal meets this couple and eats Miranda and discovers that he prefers beef.
suddenly, he loses his taste for human flesh because he likes his steaks so much. He's never
He
had
just-
one this good. Forget humans forever.
And he just leaves Straight Woman there crying over the dead body of Miranda who's been eaten.
So we are going to have Miranda get eaten, just not by us. If it's done by Hannibal, then it's okay.
I mean, we said the prime rib with the tattoo on it has been very funny to me in my imagination since we concocted it, and so I feel like it does have to come around at some point.
I agree. Definitely I agree. And since we have a time machine, we can still rescue her anytime we want. But yeah, I definitely think that it would be better if we had a clear villain do it instead of us. We're a couple of dicks for sure, but we're not that bad.
Hey, her kidney with some liver beans
I like that better.
and a glass of milk.
Why not? Why not subvert both? Get rid of the Chianti.
Well, I guess since she is technically a cow, he says, I ate her liver with some caramelized onions and a glass of milk.
You know what? That just makes it even more eating her-ish. So yeah, that's better. Much better.
Oh, 1 second. I need to look up words, and then I have a joke which might be better.
Hooray!
I ate her 2 beef patties with special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun.
And a glass of milk. But I do like the layering in that joke, adding together all those things, and a sesame seed bun. It's got to be a special kind of bun, in fact.
Well, that was a Big Mac jingle from the 80s.
I know, and I'm upping the ante even further. It has to be one of those fancy artisan buns that you get at
Hey,
super
you know
fancy
what?
restaurants on the
Tucker,
burger.
could I ask you one favor and stop upping my ante? She's had enough amphetamines for the night.
Auntie Todd, I can't do it anymore. Yeah, every one of your relatives is named after you for some reason. Your aunt is Auntie Todd.
Oh, I think that's actually very important that when we do end up exploring our family trees, we do have families that look like us and they're all named after us.
Yeah, like Mama Tucker.
Oh, I think that's a thing. Oh, that's
hope not.
Mother Tucker's.
Oh, well, she's Mother Tucker to you.
Oh, definitely.
Well, no, actually, she probably would be Mama Tucker to Todd, because we're all familial. But anytime Stan talks to her, that's Mother Tucker to you.
Okay, were we?
Yeah, we just finished killing Miranda and feeding her to Hannibal.
Does Hannibal just disappear after that? Was he doing anything, or were we just showing that scene?
He just shows up for that scene, and that I think is how we conclude like the on again, off again, will they, won't they kind of relationship between Straight Woman and Miranda. Is we just have to kill one of them.
Like that also sets up Straight Woman to be heartbroken and interesting for the next one.
Yes, and that's what makes those detectives so interesting is because they have all that baggage. They're almost always disgraced former cops.
Does she know the Fargo cops with the TV show?
Oh, I totally hope she does because they're just such nice fellas.
They're such nice fellas, but she kind of can't stand them. They're too nice for her.
Well, yeah, they're cloying. If anything, they're sickeningly sweet.
Would that be the proper use of they are sanguine?
Well, that just apparently means that they're optimistic and positive in bad or difficult situations, which they are. They're always just like, "Oh shucks, don't you know?"
I wonder. So maybe that can be. This is. I'm just having like little one-off ideas that don't need to go anywhere. But maybe we have them after the Miranda saga. We have a scene where they walk into her office and they change the aesthetic. They make the noir go away.
Oh, do they just show up with like some spray and like some brushes and they just like literally clean it off?
Oh, interesting. I was just thinking they walk in and everything's color now. they just bring it with them. But that would be interesting if they mechanically like altered the setting.
Yeah, I think it would be funnier if that entire aesthetic was actually somehow like an overlay that could be removed.
I am looking. Yeah, I actually like that a lot. It would be interesting to. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Like make it look like black and white with just like paper, and then they can peel the paper off.
Yeah, like it's just like it's wallpaper or something, and they just like peel it out of there, throw it out, dust their hands off. That's that.
Yeah, that's cool. And they're like, enough of that. You got to come with us, eh? We've had enough of your wallowing in your self pity.
I love the way they talk. They're almost Canadian.
They are. So I don't know if I necessarily want to go on another straight detective adventure yet, but I do want to set up that reality. Shall we pick one off the list and then call that the end of our episode?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm starting to get sore, and I know that the rest is only just an hour away.
Okay. Did you want to explore this time machine doorman bit?
I would love to.
So it takes place at the Tucker and Todd studio with our time machine.
Yeah, we've never had them before, but apparently we've got doormen due to an incident that we promised we'd never talk about. We promised we wouldn't talk about Canada.
Okay.
That's a
So,
reference to Black Books.
oh, is it? I thought it was a reference to Stick of Truth.
It's quite possible that they were making a reference to Black Books as well then.
That's totally possible, yeah. So we never talk about Canada. We promised we never would. Because our doormen are a little bit bumbling. I was going to suggest that they're the guards from the father. I don't want curtains.
I don't like her.
Yeah, they're those guards who, all right, we'll stay here and not watch him or whatever that is, that bit. Or
That bit is so good too.
they're that kind of bumbling, or since I just briefly mentioned them, are they we hired the Canadian Fargo cops to be our bouncers?
I think we definitely should just have the Fargo cops, especially because that way it incentivizes us to actually make them and include them in sketches, because then we can have them around the place and they can do stuff. They can do more stuff. I love it when people get to serve double duty.
I like double duty, and I also just really like those characters. I like doing those characters, and I would like it if they were around often.
Well, yeah, especially because they're sickeningly sweet to everybody, and so we can basically all be just disgusted by them. But at the same time, oh man, we wish we were that nice.
And so are they even being paid to be our bouncers, or are they like super excited that they don't have to wear their uniforms? They're like, this is kind of like a night off, eh? Look at these.
Well, they're probably on the staff on like a contract basis, not full-time employees.
But they do take the position very seriously. They're not lackadaisical about it. They're just a little dim.
Yeah, they're easy to trick, but they do take it seriously. Just like they take police work. They take police work very seriously too. But they can be bamboozled.
They give people a lot of leeway.
Yeah, well, these fellas have seen cops who, come to conclusions too fast and too harshly, and they're not going to be those guys.
So
These are a couple of nice boys from Minnesota, and they don't do that.
yeah,
They'd rather give people a couple of chances and them get away than bring in an innocent person.
And so our premise was that the time machine in the Tucker and Todd studios is sort of so are we hyping it up like you said with the South Park thing? We're generating hype for the sake of generating hype, or has that just sort of occurred naturally and we don't discuss why? But there's it's coming from behind the time machine, and it's got the little what's that thing called? The red, oh no. There's two poles and there's like a little chain hanging from it, and they move it aside to let you in.
Vaguely, yes.
Why can't I think of it?
Same reason I can't, because I never knew what it was.
I don't even know what Google terms to use. This is bamboozling.
No, it's because you're a nice boy from Minnesota.
Okay, it's going over my head, but we know what we're talking about. That little chain.
Now, are we generating hype for everybody? Or is it still just no Hitlers? So the only person who's actually forbidden entry is Hitler.
Is that what's generating the hype? Because there's the sign on it. All the people that.
Oh, yes, it is the no Hitler sign, and we deem people to be a Hitler if they don't, pass muster. So it's not just for explicitly Hitler, it's definitely still for him, but it also keeps out all other things that we declare to be Hitlers, which is anything that we object to.
For this bit, is there a stylized like sign? So it looks kind of like a nightclub sign that says no Hitlers. So it seems like the name of the club is no Hitlers.
Yeah, sure. I don't see why we'd name our club anything else, really.
And so the idea was that we would have all of these Hitlers who are trying to get into the time machine. Are they trying to get into the time machine or into the studio?
They're
there's a
trying to
line.
trying to get into the studio from the time machine.
Oh, so is this the other side of the time machine? Or is
It doesn't really occur to me if there's another side to it.
is there a lineup coming out of the door and then we have the lineup leads to the little chain entrance? I need to look up what this thing is called.
But yeah, Hitlers keep trying to come out of our time machine. That's where the doormen are. So they're coming through the time machine into our studio. So I have to assume that on the other side, whatever gateway, portal, door that they're going through has a sign on it that says no Hitlers that matches the one on our side of the time machine.
Okay, so that's what I was going to kind of ask. Are we saying, do we have a lineup of Hitlers coming out of the door trying to get into the studio? Or do we have them on the other side of the time machine, like the other side of the portal, I guess, which we've never represented, but they're trying to get through that door, which would come into our studio?
Yeah. See, that's what it is like somehow there is like this little line, this waiting room where all kinds of figures from across history are coming to hang out at our club in our studio. And they have to, of course, pass through this space between spaces, whatever, to get all the way through to our side of the time machine. And it's in that little interdimensional, no time exists here space where there's the lineup. And in that line is Hitler trying to get in.
Oh, okay. So, because I was trying to imagine, is it out like an exterior shot? They're like in a back alley trying to get in a door, but you're saying it's another space. So it's
Yeah, they're in
the
another
white.
space, so like the background can be like dark and swirly, and like stars or something. Like in oh, I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy when that dumbass was meeting with Thanos, and they were just like on a rock floating in space. Like it can be that.
Okay.
But yeah, that it needs to be a place that isn't any actual place. But we need historical figures to be able to get there, which means it needs to be a space out of time. It also needs to be outside of our studio so that they can be trying to get inside of it. Hence, they're in some kind of uh, space-time continuum exempt area, and they are trying to enter into our studio through our time machine, but they're getting bounced at the door.
Okay. I am fully. I see what you see now.
That makes one of us, because that was a long ramble on my part.
Okay, and so the premise was, and I don't know if you've been saying this as I've been trying to catch up and keep up and find visual references. We're in this white nether space. No setting needs to be made. We have a couple of poles set up. They're called stanchions, by the way. Crowd control stanchions.
Oh, stanchions. All right. I don't know if I want it to be a white space, though. I find white difficult to look at. Maybe it should be dark void space.
Okay, that's fine too. Oh, with just a spotlight on it?
Yeah, and in fact, this entire thing could be like under a street lamp. Why do we
Okay.
have a street lamp? Why not? It's dark here. I mean, either that or it's an opportunity to use a green screen and just throw in like a swirly looking Milky Way galaxy in the background.
That's a cool idea. with like fog and yeah, I like that. Ooh, something cosmic. I like the idea of kind of like a street lamp and a bus bench, and then in the background there's just like a horsehead nebula.
Yeah, like this is one of those bizarre locations that's just like interdimensional, but it's commonly traveled.
Cool. Actually, are they? Is it the thing where they're on like a teeny tiny little planet, and the only thing that there's room for is the lineup and the door?
Yeah, I like that. It's just like a little planetoid floating in space.
Okay, cool. And all there's room for is the bouncers and the door and the collection of Hitler adjacent. So Hitler shows up and he's trying to get into the club, but he keeps getting bounced because he clearly looks like Hitler. And so he comes back with a bunch of Hitler adjacent buddies who are all dressed up in disguises to look not Hitlerish so that they can cause a distraction and he can get in. But then Mussolini is there and he is dressed. He's got a little Hitler mustache and a little Hitler haircut. And maybe he's got a little Hitler schoolboy uniform on or something. And that's when the cops are like, hey, wait a minute. This boy's a little suspicious.
Yeah, Mussolini ruins it for everybody. He just can't keep the Hitler down.
And so do we have a cheesy, like, aw, Mussolini? And he kind of like shrugs to camera.
Yeah. Break the fourth wall with Mussolini, be like, eh.
Oh, does Mussolini say something in Italian? And one of the cops is like, "Me no speak Dago."
Oh, is that something our nice Minnesota boys would say?
No, it's not.
Are they? Maybe they're not manning the door by themselves. Maybe they've got backup who is a little bit gruffer than they are.
Columbo.
Ooh, I think Columbo would be the perfect candidate to say that.
Is Columbo hanging out with Aldo Rain?
Arrivederci. He would definitely say no spico dago.
Oh yeah, so Columbo says something like he's hanging out with Aldo Rain, who he thinks speaks Italian. He's convinced, and Columbo says Mussolini says something. I don't know. I got way out of control. I don't know who's talking to who. Columbo says, "Sorry, you're gonna have to talk to my buddy. I know Spico Dago."
Oh, and if Columbo is working the stanchions, just before one of the Hitler boys gets in, he has to say, "Oh, just one more thing," and then get rid of him.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's his signature thing, and we've never had a good opportunity for it.
Does he flip the switch on a trapdoor and all the Hitlers fall in?
They fall right out the bottom of the planetoid and just start floating out in the void of space.
Which is hilarious because, yeah, okay, I like that a lot.
And somehow it's oxygenated, so they don't like die from, void exposure. They just like float there. They're like, I guess this is me now. That means we can pick them up anytime we want to.
Oh, is that how? And do they eventually drift about in space and they get wrecked on another little planetoid, and that's Planet 9?
Planet 9.
Well, NEIN 9, but also Planet 9.
Oh, 9. Yeah, if it isn't Planet 9 already, it's going to become Planet 9 after Hitler lands on it.
Well,
and then he puts up a sign that says only Hitler's.
Because Planet 9 is a hypothetical planet in the outer region of the solar system. Its gravitational effects could explain the unusual cluster of orbits of extreme trans-Neptunian objects. So there is a thing that is called Planet 9, and maybe they find it and they plant their little flag and turn it into Planet 9.
9! And it's only Hitler's, because apparently he takes his bouncing a little personally.
Oh, now I have a new joke that I'm excited about. Surely you've seen Finding Nemo.
Surely I have.
Can you guess what the joke is based on me saying that?
I'm not even going to try. I want you to just tell me.
It's a bunch of bird-brained Hitlers hopping around going, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9.
You know what? I think if anybody deserves to be put through that ringer, it's Hitler.
Does one of us have to make a comment? Are Tucker and Todd watching all of this occur going like, how... For a show that has a no Hitlers policy, this episode had a fuck ton of Hitler in it.
Are we going to be that aware? I guess we've got like a security camera that lets us see into there. We're probably sitting, with Stan, who's probably our chief of security, and we're just watching on a monitor that happens to be Craig. And yeah, we probably do make some kind of comment about that. There sure are an alarming number of Hitlers in this episode.
Or maybe it's Stan that makes that comment to us, and we shrug it off in some.
Yeah, it probably makes more sense because we're not that introspective.
Yeah. Maybe it can. I mean, it's sort of a little comment. Stan is like, boys, for a show with a no Hitler policy, this episode sure had a fuck ton of Hitler, and we're kind of like, we put the sign up. What more do you want?
We didn't let them in. They have to watch from the outside.
Yes, that's actually the outside that we're always referring to. Whenever we say you have to watch from the outside, we mean the planet with the trapdoor on it.
Yeah, that little pocket dimension. That's the outside. Stranger Things is the upside down. Other places have their thing. That's ours. That's just the outside. When we're actually saying people have to watch from the outside, we're saying that they can go to whatever that interdimensional hell is.
Yeah, our little waiting room.
Oh, and it has elevator music.
Of course it does, and nobody can determine where it's coming from.
No, like there are speakers there, and people smash them and throw them off, and somehow the music is still playing. Apparently, it wasn't ever coming from the speakers at all. Why were they there?
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe, yeah, they find the speaker where it's coming out of, and they like smash it and they throw it out into space, and it starts doing like an ovular orbit around the planet, but it's just out of reach. So it's doing a Doppler effect of the elevator music coming into the scene and coming into the scene and then coming back into this.
That actually makes it so much funnier. So they don't succeed in destroying the speaker, so they try to smash it, it won't break, so they throw it off of the planetoid, and then it begins to orbit it and become even more annoying.
Yeah, because now it's a little bit like the recording is a little bit broken, so it's skipping and wobbling.
Okay, so the Hitlers never made it in. They are just floating out in the void of space until they come across something else. Planet 9.
Is this part of that scene? Is that how it ends? Them landing on Planet 9?
No, I think it should end with them just like floating out in space together and being like, "God damn it, Mussolini," because it's definitely his fault.
So they're just cartwheeling out into space.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do we close to credits with a little bit of A New Hope music?
If we're gonna do Star Wars music, we need to have a wall of text narrowly miss them.
Oh, of course.
And then, yeah, that probably is the end of it. Them just floating around out in space.
When the wall of text shoots past them, do we make any sort of reference to other scenes in which a wall of text is flown by? Is there somebody chasing after it?
The wall of text is the reference to other scenes with walls of text.
Yeah, I guess.
And in fact, the wall of text itself should probably be a written reference to another scene in which a wall of text has shown up. And in fact, it could be the script for one.
I like that a lot. The flying walls of text will sort of end up becoming Chuck Lorre's show notes at the end of his shows.
Now I want to drop a piano on someone.
Oh, we're gonna have to work in all of those things at some point. When you said earlier that's how we drop our anvil, I was trying to figure out how we could move.
Well, now that's going to run through my mind. How can we drop an anvil? Obviously, people don't put anvils in high up places specifically to avoid that.
That's actually one of my favorite scenes in a film in all cinema is in Drag Me to Hell, when she's fighting the gypsy lady in their shed and they literally drop an anvil on her head.
Yeah, that seems highly unlikely.
And it makes her eyeballs fall out. Okay. Are we dropping an anvil in one of the scenes that we wrote today, or are we coming back to this? Am I right putting anvil in premise?
We'll come back to it another day. So dropping an anvil when it's least appropriate is probably something that we're going to do.
I'm satisfied with our recording for tonight.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. We really did not take overly long to do the script, so we moved on to other stuff pretty quick. So I think we have a full-length episode.
I think so.
A full-length episode and a sketch. That's pretty good.
Very productive.
And so I'm ready to call it quits.
As am I.
Thanks, everybody, for listening and eventually watching.
Remember, if you are planning to call it quits, make sure you call 403-266-HELP. That's 403-266. My push-to-talk button is also the internet back button.
That was probably a mistake.
Well, I am using. I don't know. I was about to tell a boring story, and I'm deciding not to. And instead, I am going to thank everybody for joining us on this adventure. I have been Todd,
And I've tucked it away.
and I watched, and this has been fun. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah. Hope everybody behaves better than we do.
Don't do anything that I would do or suggest, unless you need to call help. Oh, fuck off. Good night. Bye.
Goodbye.
Fuck Tucker. Tucker sucks. And fuck Tucker's friend, Todd.